Well, welcome back to another episode of the Bourbon Pours. Jordan down here. If you and your family are traveling in the Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge area this summer, you want to stop by King's Family Distillery here in Sevierville at their tasting room and retail shop. Cara King, co-founder with her husband Justin, here making herself available to answer some questions about what all they have going on down here at the distillery. And I think this place is totally awesome. I really have enjoyed a lot of your products. And just thank you for making some time for us.
Oh,
talk some bourbon and whiskey. Yeah.
It's what I love to do. So
yeah. All right. So we're going to actually split up. I've got my handy dandy questions here. We're going to split this up into three kind of categories. Just talk a little bit briefly about history, and then some of the specifics of the distillery, and then kind of where you guys are going to head from here on out. So when did you guys actually start the distillery?
We opened our doors in October of 2018. It was really just kind of an idea, and I had told Justin that I never wanted to start a craft distillery. I didn't want to because I had been in the distilling world since 2008, and I'd watched craft distillers, I'd watched these people put in all this work, and really just all this blood, sweat, and tears for very little reward, etc. You know, like, I didn't want to touch it, right? But then, I mean, all of the stars aligned. I had sold my portion of my grain business. And so I had, with the proceeds from that, I purchased barrels from MGB, you know, like everybody does.
That's what I would do.
Exactly, right? Exactly. So I had purchased some barrels, but it was before the barrel boom. So like I got them at a pretty good rate. And I was just sitting on them, and my contract was coming up with, you know, my former employer, and I was just like, it's now or never, you know. And I looked at my husband, I was like, there's a great spot, because the place was on well water. The place where we are is on well water, so we don't have to fight city water, we don't have to fight city chemicals. It's on a road that's well enough traveled where people can access us easily and stumble upon us easily. And it's something that it was more of a retirement project, really. It's like retirement gone wild. Right. So now we've gone from like just having vodka for the first 2 weeks, because it took me 2 weeks to get my barrels in, to having like probably almost 20 products. Yeah. From rum to whiskey to vodkas. I've got 17-year-old single barrel right now. We've got a blue gin that we actually distill, and we color it with butterfly pea blossoms. I mean, we've got pretty much everything.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, we'll pan and show a clip of all the offerings they have here. Everything I've had here has been fantastic. That's why I was so interested in stopping by and doing this interview. Once again, just to appreciate it. But you and your husband have some kind of industry backgrounds. I know you just kind of briefly spoke about, you know, grain and all that, and he has his side. So just kind of briefly tell us what your background is in the industry.
Well, mine is, in 2008, I joined my family's grain firm as the premier rye brokers for the distilling industry. Since then, that company has been absorbed by a larger company, and I had sold my portion of that company. That's kind of what I was talking about. But that's where I come from. So I used to work with, you know, your big boys, like your Sazeracs, your Beam Brands now, Suntory, all of them. And then my husband was the first and only master distiller at the first moonshine distillery in Gatlinburg. Wink, wink.
Who would that be?
No idea. But yeah, so he's really cut his teeth working on a still. Honestly, I think he was making illegal booze back when he was in high school, right? He's from, you know, Gatlinburg, so he's a true-blooded hillbilly by trade, right? Like
moonshiner and all that.
100%.
That's awesome.
100%.
That's awesome.
So.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so we actually met at a distillery trade show, like a craft distillery trade show in Denver. So yeah, so I was slinging grain, and he was there as the master distiller of moonshine. I'd never heard of moonshine, and he was like,
"What is
what? Moonshine cherries?" I'm like, "I do bourbon. Sorry, babe."
That's awesome. That's awesome. So why did you guys this area is full, since we are talking about moonshine, it's a good segue. There's a ton of moonshine distilleries down here. It's kind of a hot item here. But you decided to go the route of bourbon and ryes and some other spirits. I think you do have a little bit of moonshine here, don't you?
Yeah, we have one moonshine.
Yeah, one moonshine. But why did you decide to primarily focus on that over kind of what everybody else has done with moonshines?
Because nobody else was really doing it at the time.
And that's what you like, right?
Yeah, exactly. And like you always have someone in the crowd that likes it. You know what I mean? So I figured it was probably a relatively decent sell. You know? I mean, and I know what good bourbon tastes like. So, and I know how to find good bourbon. I know how to source good bourbon. So, and so does Justin. So, you know, we're both very, you know, knowledgeable in that side of the industry as well. So, that's kind of why.
Art to that. So, do you have a personal bourbon journey? When did you actually get into bourbon yourself? Like, because I know you mentioned that you like bourbon. So, how did that come about?
Well, so the first bourbon that I actually ever liked was Four Roses small batch, and it was 2008, and I had Kentucky Bourbon Ale, and that back in 2008, like, and they kind of went through like a dip because they didn't have enough bourbon barrels, and then they've since like come back, but it was so delicious, and I was like, what is this? And then I had tried small batch on ice because I was a bourbon baby. Right?
Well,
I was like 25, right?
Everybody starts, you know,
exactly, or with Coke or something, you know what I mean? And I've always liked the taste or the smell of whiskey. I've always liked the taste of like bourbon Coke or like whiskey Coke, whiskey gingers. But Four Roses small batch back in 2008, it was the first thing that really turned my trigger. And yeah, I was at the Kentucky Bourbon Festival, like, and it was so different pre-pandemic, so different. And so they had this gala where like all the distillers are there, and we would always get a table for our company. So
awesome.
It was awesome.
So, hey,
super fun.
Gonna be in Kentucky when in Rome, gotta drink the bourbon, right?
Exactly.
Awesome. Now we're gonna kind of focus a little bit on the specifics of your distillery here. Once again, I think so many of your products are fantastic. I particularly really love the ryes and what you guys do with them. And we're gonna talk a little bit about that. That I don't think, you know, a lot of times there can be a little bit of a connotation with MGP brands, but I think a lot of it has to do with what you do with it once you acquire those barrels and picking those barrels out. So, but before we get to that, how many employees do you guys actually have?
That's always a good question. 4 to 5, if you include Justin, 5.
Okay.
I include him.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. 5.
He's around.
Yeah, he's around sometimes. Yeah.
And what's your barrel capacity? How many barrels? We'll show another shot where you just kind of have barrels sitting around. What's your barrel capacity here?
In here, like, we can generally fit, I mean, however many we can fit. We usually take in 8 to 12 at a time.
Okay.
At any given time, like, I have a ton aging in different places, though.
Okay.
I don't, because we don't distill anything here. We do know that, and we do distill our own gin, but it is a TIB situation where we distill it elsewhere and then we bring it here.
Okay.
But yeah, we it's something that, you know, whatever we have room for.
And you have some off-site too. So
yes,
cool.
we do, and a lot of these too are just like transferred, and like I've got an Amburana aging somewhere, you know, and I've got it toasted.
Okay. And what are your core offerings here? I think that's probably a good place to start too, or some of the things that you just have regularly. I know you kind of do some special releases with some of the finishings, but what are the core offerings?
Our bourbon here in store is probably our number one bestseller. Okay. Aside from like the flavors, because our flavored whiskeys, that's kind of our homage to the area, to your moonshines, right? Yeah. Flavored whiskeys and vodkas and rums. But our bourbon is number one bestseller. We also have a wheated bourbon, which is a 51 corn, 45 wheat, 4 malt. I've got a Tennessee Standard Bourbon Blend, which is actually up for a pretty major award at the San Francisco World Spirits Competition.
I think if you're watching this, you probably have heard of that.
Yeah, it's
awesome.
I don't know if it's like best of class, I think,
Okay.
but we're super excited about that.
Yeah.
They told us we have to go to their gala, so I was like, they probably have. We gotta be there. Okay,
Right. Well, we'll be watching that.
Oh darn!
That's
You know what I mean?
That's
We're
awesome.
at the gala. I have to go to San Francisco. Darn it!
Yeah.
You don't have to ask me twice.
Yeah, right. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah,
so tons of great core offerings and then also some special releases. So let's talk about some of those. I know that Ryconic is kind of a big thing here, which is the double barreled, right? And then you also will do that with a finishing. So what are some of the special releases though?
So Ryconic is a 00 to 95.5.
Okay.
We then like to finish that with Amburana. We have a honey finish. We do Amburana honey. I think.
Cherry brandy, I think.
Cherry brandy we did.
Fantastic.
We did a Madeira. I have some honey, what is this? Toasted honey.
Okay.
We were doing a toasted. I'm getting more toasted barrels in to continue with the toasted series. But the end of the toasted barrels, we coated them with honey, put Ryconic in them, and we'll do a honey toasted. And basically anything else that we can get a hold of, really. Yeah. So anytime that anybody has a barrel for sale.
Right, here it is. Great. Awesome. So we talked about sourcing whiskey. I think there's an art to distilling whiskey. There's an art to blending it, and what a lot of people I think miss is I think there's an art to sourcing it too, picking those barrels. So can you talk a little bit about how you know a barrel is worthy of you purchasing? Like how do you go about sourcing? What are you looking for, I guess, whenever you go to source a barrel?
A lot of it is based on the producer.
Okay.
And then a lot of it is how we treat the barrel once we get it here.
Okay.
You know, everything we do is true single barrel. So, or unless it's like the Tennessee Bourbon blend.
Yeah.
But it's all like 50 gallon batches. So small. And we really do play with kind of like aeration and things like that. So.
Okay. That's awesome. And you know, it really does shine through a lot of your products being those single barrels because you can tell they're kind of upper tier. I really love the Ryconic stuff.
I am glad to hear that.
Yeah,
I love that stuff too.
I have a bottle of Ryconic at home, so and just it's a go-to for sure. Let's see. Does the idea for a finished product start with you, or is that kind of determined by the barrels that you select? So do you like taste a barrel of rye and think, well, this particular one, you know, this flavor profile might be best for honey, or do you just kind of go with it that I want to produce these, so I'm gonna put this in, you know, the honey barrel or this in the cherry brandy? Is there anything in particular?
It's a combo platter, really.
Okay.
Sometimes it's, oh crap, do we have room? Sometimes it's,
Right.
sometimes it's like, I have an empty toasted barrel, I have a single barrel 17 year, I have these labels, I have to do something, I have to get rid of something, you know what I mean?
Right.
And sometimes it's, okay, this is gonna finish really well with Amburana.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Like
and sometimes it's like, the demand for Amburana has gone through the roof, so let's just make sure we get some Amburana out.
Make sure we have that on the shelf.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So, what are some of the challenges for smaller distilleries? Because, you know, this is a smaller distillery. What are some of the challenges for you guys and for other brands as well?
I would say distribution for sure. For us, we went into it understanding that like distribution was just going to be icing on the cake because we're in such a touristy area. Tourism was going to be our bread and butter, and that's what we went into it knowing. So if you're not in a touristy area, it is extremely hard to make it, especially now that we've gone through this run up of barrel prices, and now everybody's falling down the other side. And I mean, if you had to buy, you were buying at increasingly high prices. And now that it's falling off the other side, and if you overbought and are trying to get rid of it, you're not getting the money out of it that you did. And then also you have a lot of other production facilities coming online in Kentucky, in Indiana, all over in Tennessee. You have production facilities coming online over the next several years. So you're going to be able to buy very inexpensively. However, if you can get to there, you'll be able to get there. But I think resilience is key. Being able to figure out how to innovate, being able to figure out like okay, my heart might be in bourbon, but can I flip to gin and can I find a market for my gin?
Sure.
Can I flip to vodka? Can I flip to flavors? Can I flip to something? Like, can I do something else? That's really kind of where the key is going to be for some of these craft distillers. For us, like, we're the Great Smoky Mountains. Like, we're in a bubble.
Yeah.
Like, this is not, I don't live in real life.
Right.
Like, this is not real life. I'm not, like, this craft distillery doesn't live in where everybody else does, right? This is not real.
Like
so
12 million people visit the park each year.
Exactly. My biggest advice to any craft distiller is find a really good online retailer, find a really good online marketer, and figure out the online market, get your niche, find your bourbon influencers on TikTok, on Instagram and YouTube, like yourself, and figure it out, right?
I'm not influencer. I don't
Don't
influence.
send him any bourbon ever.
That's too generous. I don't think I influence anybody.
Well, no, you know what I mean.
Right. Yeah,
that's where the market's going.
Yeah, find people how to reach the consumer.
And bring your personal brand to it as well. Like, bring yourself to it, because people like myself and Justin.
Yeah.
And that's because we bring ourselves to the brand.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to bring yourself to the brand too.
Yeah.
So.
Well said. So what is your favorite product that you guys have?
Our 51% rye.
51%.
Hands down.
Okay.
It's 51% rye, 45% corn, 4% malted barley. It's aged for 8 years. We sell it in store for $45, and it's phenomenal. It's only 90 proof. I really love the cask strength, but people don't go after a cask strength rye. It's very strange.
Yeah.
Because, like, you'll be able to find it here and there. There's a couple of liquor stores that did barrel picks here and there.
Okay.
But I mean, it's so good.
Yeah. Awesome stuff. All right, so sort of the future here. We'll touch on this briefly. So, what's the future look like for King's? Do you have any plans for anything or anything in particular, or kind of just really focusing on putting out the bottles? What do you guys have going on?
Well, we're always looking to expand our lineup, expand our finishes, whatever comes up. Like, if we were to find another sherry barrel, we'll do another sherry finish. When we find another Scotch barrel, we'll do another Scotch finish. It all depends on the economics of it as well. If we can find a great spot for a second location, we'd love to do that. But again, all of the stars have to align, just like with this place. This place, the stars aligned perfectly, and both Justin and I are very conservative when it comes to jumping into a project like that. Yeah. Because it's hard. So that's kind of, and more flavors.
Right.
I mean, we've got a cinnamon that'll come out, and it's like, it doesn't taste like your average cinnamon on the market. It really does taste, it has a depth to it that's like, it tastes like a Red Hot, and you're just like.
Sounds good to me. I love cinnamon.
Okay, good. Yeah, like, it doesn't taste like, cinnamon was really good, and then everybody started doing it, so everybody had to make it cheaper than everybody else.
Right.
Ours is just like,
Yeah. Good stuff. And then, of course, we can cut this out if you don't want to talk about this.
Okay.
You're talking about maybe starting your own YouTube channel and podcast stuff. So that could be in the future of King's as well. So tell us a little bit about that.
So Justin and myself, we are bourbon lovers, right? So, like, first and foremost, we do want to put together probably some sort of podcast situation where, we bring on, like, the friends that we've made over the last 15 years, me with, like, in the macro, like, industry, and for him, like, he was at MGP as a salesperson forever, so he knows all of these other craft distillers. We love our own products, right?
Sure.
But we also love so many other people's products.
Yes.
We love cocktails, we love wine, we love beer, we love everything the alcohol industry has to offer.
Yeah.
Obviously, we'll be promoting our own stuff, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But we also want to promote the industry. We want to promote other people's stuff too.
Yeah.
People who align with ourselves. We want to promote our area.
Right.
Like Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg and Sevierville, like, just the little guys, the places, the holes in the wall where you can get, like, the best burger ever and see, like, the coolest bartenders, right?
Yeah.
And for Justin and myself, it just makes sense that that'd be the next step that we do.
Cool.
So it'll be like a podcast / YouTube channel. So you can either listen or watch.
Yeah. Maybe look for that later on this year. I think that's pretty awesome.
Yep, it'll be called Cocktails with the Kings.
Yeah. I love that. Cool. Well, I think that's all I have for you. I really appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
So awesome. We're going to walk around here. We're going to show you a few of the barrels, some of the products. So really appreciate your time, Cara. Really appreciate King's Family Distillery. This is an awesome place. Be sure if you're traveling to this area that you come by, because I think you'll be super impressed with it. So with that, we'll see you next time.